Hi guys, my name is Chasm and welcome to my video here. It's gonna be another controller guide, but this time for the map of Split. This is actually gonna be a 2-for-1 kind of, because instead of, as you can see here, I'm using Omen again for Split. However, I will be using another controller later in this video. Stick around to find out. And boom, you're probably gonna find out from the chapters anyways, but stick around, go watch the video. You can click around the chapters right now if you'd like. But anyways, I will just take this time to explain what I'm doing here. Is I'm going to be showing off smokes that I like to use personally on my controller games, during rank specifically. These are smokes geared more towards the rank play instead of just pro play or team play, because those are two very different environments. And same with the controllers that I'll be showing off. These are the ones that I do like to use myself in rank. But you may want but it doesn't exclude it from being used in team play, because you'll see, so for example, a lot of people runs the Viper on Split, but I don't like to run Viper on Split because this is in a rank setting, and it just makes it really hard to smoke things off sometimes, unless you have like really good lineups. But anyways, let's get on with the video. We're going to start off with the A site here, attacking. So when we're attacking on A site, unlike you can do with the Viper, or if you have a Cypher, you can't really do lurking smoke, so we're just not gonna do that. But just for reference, lurking smoke is usually where you drop a smoke here and also here, so your team can establish this presence in A main and try to take control of this. You guys can fight through ramps here like with a pop flash, but that's more towards pro play and not really towards it's not really towards rank play, so we're just not gonna regard it. We're just not gonna talk about it. But anyway, so let's say we're pushing onto A site. The main job of a controller is to remove as many angles as possible, or cut off lines of sight that can challenge you guys to make it easier to take space that you guys want to take, or to help hold that space. So what points on the map when we're entering on A site are we worried about? Well, when we're entering A site, the ones that we really can worry about is going to be screens and going to be heaven also. So how do we get past that? Well, for screens, I'm gonna show you guys two smokes here. The first smoke is just a basic smoke. By the way, I'll just switch the view here so you guys can see it more clearly, where we're going to drop the smoke like this. Again, this is going to be a really nice smoke because it's flush with the wall and doesn't gives them nearly no space to fight from at all. There's no way for them to pop flash out of. Doesn't give them any extra space, which is really nice. Secondly, the other smoke that I like to do is it's very similar, but you're gonna aim up. As you can see there, I'm gonna get closer for you guys so you guys can see it. There's going to be a little section on the wall where the green arrow sticks in there. What this shows is that it's going to be a one-way, by the way. This is how they change up Omen's one-way, because when you it used to be you could put a one-way wherever you want. If you're stuck in the wall, it would stay in that wall, but they changed it up recently, so now it can't do that, which I'm actually in favor of. So yeah, so now what you want to do is like look at this the upper area of the screens, and you're just going to drop the smoke right there. And when we drop down here, as you can see, it creates a really strong one-way that's straight up impossible to fight from. They can't even cross to the other side of screens without being at risk of just getting shot at. I apologize there. Another smoke that we can do here for our screens that's actually a little bit different. It's different in the sense that, well, when we're smoking this off, right, let's say we're running on eco. Technically, when you're pushing A site, you're not only afraid of screens, but you're also afraid of that elbow screen. So what if, let's say, we're on eco and we don't have the guns to challenge that elbow space effectively? Well, what do we want to do? Well, on eco, you want to get close so that your weapons, or generally you want to get close so your weapons are as effective as possible at that close range, because it just neutralizes the effect of like damage fall off, fire rate, because usually the cheaper weapons have a higher fire rate. It just really equalizes the chances for the fight for you. So what I like to do here if we're running on eco is I'll drop a smoke right in front of elbow, like right here. when yes, it does give them that room to play in. It also gives them space so that they can fight out of it. But again, my goal of this smoke is to try and close the distance. So if they do pop out, by the time they do pop out, we're probably here, and it does give us significantly better chances of being able to take that fight without dying. Now, another angle that most people are going to be worried about when they're pushing at the A site itself is going to be this heaven area. There are several ways I've seen this smoke. I will show you the way that you should not smoke it, in my opinion. I don't think you should smoke heaven like this, where you drop the smoke on rafters. I feel like this is a bad smoke. We can talk about why. Well, the reason why it's such a bad smoke is because it gives them so much room to play in. As you can see here, there's so much room. Let me just refresh the smoke here. If you drop the smoke right there, you give them so much room to play in, where they can prep a flash and then pop out, fight the main, wait for a trip, wait for a Sova Dart, and they just have... And additionally, they could drop down from heaven, and they could be relatively safe because they're obscure for most of the drop, which is not optimal, as you guys can guess. So personally, I want to avoid you guys doing that smoke as much as possible. So when you do want to smoke heaven, the smoke that I recommend is this one right here. Very basic, but it works. Super flush with the wall, and there's very little room that they can play around. If they swing out here, additionally, now they're out wide in the open to your entire team, where they can just die because they're out in the open. Additionally, if you guys do wish, because that's this thing I've been doing quite a bit. If you guys want to push into heaven, now you can use this as a setup, where you guys can use a pop flash, send the sky flash through, and now you can fight for heaven quite easily. Now, on top of that, another thing we can do with this is going to be this one way here. But I like to use, it's a bit tricky, so I only like to do this when we're playing a post map. But if you can, with enough time and practice, you should be able to do this quite easily with when you're, what's the word I'm looking for, when you're on offense. Yeah, as you can see here, it's a bit tricky. It's a bit hard to do, I will admit. Yeah, I'm not that well practiced in this smoke, but it's something I do also use sometimes. Let's just line it up here. Okay, usually it is easier to smoke it like when it's like this. And I'm using this mode. There we go. Drop the smoke right there. And as you can see, it covers it up, so you can't like get a weird cheeky angle under the smoke. And it's just like the garden smoke that I showed, garden and market smoke on Ascent. They have to swing out entirely out into the open most of the way, and they're going to be exposed. Their feet are going to be exposed by the time they even get to this middle point here. But again, just makes it way easier for you guys to play that plants. Now, another thing that let's say we're playing on post plant, as I said before, you can just use this exact same smokes. But let's say you guys took a heaven control. A smoke that you guys can do for the A site is dropping this smoke right here. This one's just for the planter, and if anyone tries to fight you guys, this really just minimizes the angle. Most people would not swing from here because it does create a one-way for them, so they would swing out here. So what I like to do is generally, if let's say we plant the spike for heaven, what I like to end up doing, and let's say we do have heaven control, I'm usually holding this angle here, ready to take the fight for somebody swinging out backside. Because most people aren't going to swing from here, so I'm going to prepare for the fight here. And if they do swing here, I can just... One thing I do like to do is actually if they do swing out and oh shit, I can't win this fight, the thing I'll do honestly is I'll crouch, look down, and then I'll cross over. What this does is actually makes your player's model way smaller because your head looks down, so it's gonna be harder to see your head. Just a little cheeky trick that you guys could use. Now let's talk about when we're taking a heaven as the attacker. A common smoke that you'll see actually is this smoke right here. well, kind of. It's kind of a common smoke. The common smoke is that you drop it in the middle of the doorway, but I like to move it a bit off to the left because what this does is give us the opportunity to flow into vents completely unchallenged and also allow us to swing into the side of this box completely unchallenged either. It just gives us that extra little space and makes the enemies think, oh wait, they could have gone vents. Like you drop the smoke, you guys walk up, and then you guys contact straight into vents and they won't even know. Unless they have a vents player, which honestly in most people's elo, their air is going to be one, but they're going to be unprepared because they're not ready for, 5 people to swing them from vents, right? But regardless, now we're gonna move up. Another thing that we do, and I do like to do, is this smoke right here as well. Just drop this. It's not optimal with Omen just because of the size of his smoke. But a thing you could also modify by bringing it closer here. But I'm not as a big a fan of it. I don't like doing the smokes when I'm playing Omen, but when I'm playing Astra, it's all good for me. Yeah. The reason why the smoke is good is because this gives you access to the front of a heaven, allows you to path into vents if you can take control of it, and now you guys can bunch up behind the smoke or in the smoke, getting ready for the push and take control of a heaven itself. Now from that, we're going to be going on to the defender side of smoking off A side. The very first smoke you'll see is going to be this smoke right here, which allows you to take control of a lobby here. However, the downside of this smoke is that when you do the smoke, most of the time the controller or due to the changes they made to split, this elevated position here will give the people sight onto ramp. So you want to be careful of that, because that could really mess you up if you're not paying attention. As you can see here, I can take fights onto ramps here quite easy. So if you're going to do the smoke, a thing you could do is bring it a bit further out, if I'm correct, which does give them an extra space. However, it does end up covering ramps, so it's a lot harder for you to take that fight, or near impossible rather for them to take the fight. However, it does give them a bit of extra space, so you'll want to lab it, practice it to make sure you know what distance is the perfect, where it gives them as little space as possible while also smoking off their sight onto ramps. Now, another thing that we should do or talk about is the fact that a lot of people just give up ramps for free. So like, oh, they're pushing A, they'll just run off of ramps and then smoke this off. I'm not a fan of that, because I really personally think that fighting for every inch of map control is very important. So what I like to do here is I'll just drop a smoke for ramps if they do challenge the ramps. In fact, if I only have one smoke, I'd rather smoke ramps off so we can take control of that bit of map space. Because if we have heaven control, the attackers are not going to be able to plant safe here because we know where it is. So we can just, even if let's say this is smoked off, we know exactly where to spam, and we can kill the diffuser to have the plant safe, which is now a worse post-plant position for them. So again, what I like to do is I'll just drop a smoke here. Usually I'll line it up with this wall here, but sometimes I like to do is I'll smoke it off like this. And what I like to do sometimes is I'll play an off angle, like somewhere like right here, because when they're swinging out, they're gonna have to swing out in the open here, exposed to a bunch of different angles, and they're gonna have to check this first because the smoke isn't flush, so they can't swing it in a protected manner. Where if you smoke it flush with this wall, you can swing out, you're more protected. So if you, again, as you can see here, if I smoke it with this a bit further out, instead flush with this wall, when they swing out to take this fight here, now they're more exposed to heaven, all of ramp, most of heaven. It just really, makes them like hesitate to push through the smoke. Additionally, another thing that a lot of people I don't see do is like, oh, they're taking ramps fast. What can we do to stop them? They can't do the basic ramp smoke because they're just gonna run right through it, right? Well, just drop a smoke right here. Make your own little one-way. This is what's really important when you're playing controller, is you're able to form your own little chokes. And this is going to be your own little choke right here. When you swing out here, as you can see, it's flush with this box, and now they can't. Let's show this point of view. I'll just refresh this because it's about to run out. There it is. Let's drop the smoke right there. Now, from the point of view of the attackers, they're locked out of heaven. Unless you jump out of here, there's no way. The best way for them to check if there's someone here is to do a jump spot from this little box here, but this box is spammable. So if they do this, they can get spammed out, and you get it. This gives you just a lot more space than most people would think. Now I'm moving on to the main here. When I smoke, usually I like to smoke like right here. Again, just flush with the wall for except no reason that you're already exposed. There's no point to smoking a bit deeper here, because if you smoke deeper here, it gives them way more angles to swing out of. As you can see here, now they can swing out into cubby here. They can swing out of the main. That's why you just want to, when you smoke off a main, you want to do it where it's flush against this wall right here. This wall right there. There we go. Now let's say instead of slowing down the execute onto A, we want to secure the A hold or keep the side anchor on A alive as long as possible. How can we do this? Well, we can do side anchor smokes. Very similar in the manner of that dice gen smoke on my Ascent video. What we can do here is drop a smoke between this box and this screen here on site. Usually I like to just drop it like right there. Usually it might be a little bit off to the center, but what this does, again, as you're an attacker, when you're pushing through, it makes it awkward because now the enemy, the defender, your side anchor, can now swing out from any point of the smoke. They can swing out backside. They can swing out, what's the word? Elbow. Or they can just play inside the smoke, which makes it incredibly difficult to clear. Because now they have to use you to, while your side anchor can now play around the smoke and use it to take fights all over the site, use the smoke to just isolate. Again, which is completely in your favor. Additionally, if your side anchor doesn't want to fight for the space and just wants to give it up, there's nothing wrong with that too. A smoke that I like to do is I'll use this wall here, I'll line up the edge of it, and I'll just drop a smoke right here. What this does is it creates an awkward area for the attackers to clear out. Oh wait, but a thing you should do, I did mess it up here, is you don't want it a bit too center into this space, is because from the little elevated platform on A main, your head will be seen here, so you want to be careful of that. I did actually mess it up there. What I like to do is like something like this. There we go, that's safe. And what this does is, let's say the attackers are pushing, they can't see into elbow, so for all they know, somebody's flooding into sight to help the side anchor, or the side anchor is using the smoke to get out of sight so we can play for numbers on the retake. So yeah, that's just the little basic stuff there, and obviously everyone knows this Omen smoke here because everyone does it, but I'm not a fan of it just because, you know, it just gives them so much space. If I'm correct also, oh no, they did remove it, I think. No, they didn't. Okay, that's perfect actually. Because I remember there used to be a one-way here. It's a bit tricky to line up, but yeah, there's also this one-way here that you can drop for controlling a heaven. Because again, once they get to here, they're free to be shot from people from vents, most of heaven, and it's just an absolute just clusterfuck for them. Now we're gonna move on to mid here. We're gonna move into mid. Oh, and some nice by sec. So when you're attacking a mid, this will also, I'll re-show this again for when we're going on to be on Astra. But another thing here is that when you're taking mid control on split, most people are like, oh, take control of this space, take control of mail. That's actually not the case. What you want to take control of when you're doing a mid, taking control of mid, is going to be vents, because this is the key point of rotation. Because when a person is in mail, they need to take a fight into vents, they need to take a fight into heaven, and sometimes mid if they're flanking. But if you're fighting in vents, the only place you really need to worry about is this. It's very rarely that you'll see somebody challenge from here, and if they do, they're going to be on a fast rotate and whatnot. Because vents is really just the main focus of the rotation. That's their key point. Because if somebody's inserted in vents, somebody in mid, if they're rotating out from mail, they're not going to challenge. They're not going to challenge this because now they have to worry about the flank from sewers and also vents if you do take that control. So how do we do that? So instead of what I suggest is instead of smoking off vents, I want you to smoke off male in different variations. It's either you smoke this off if you want to take more map control or threaten more map control, or if you just want to do the nice basic one, just smoke this off right here. Smoke the male off completely instead of just heaven, and now you can send a dog to vents to clear it, and then you can leave an insert, and you guys can just take control of that space of the map. Now, let's say for some reason your enemies do use a Viper smoke. Do use Viper on this map. She's very good. I will admit, I love Viper. She's really good. And well, they'll drop this orb smoke right here. Something like this. There we go. And they'll use it to pop it, the Viper molly up and throw some mollies into it. How do we counter this? Well, here's how we counter this. Actually, I stole this from Zelsis, I will admit. Is where he'll use this to chain the smoke. Where he'll drop the smoke like right here. So when the Viper smoke goes up, now we have this extra space to fight in. We can path from the Viper orb into our own smoke to isolate the fight into vents, or if we wish to, we can use it to pop flash and then fight into male and heaven. It just gives you that extra little space. There's honestly not a lot to do when it comes to smoking off mid, but it's important to do it right because it's a simple job, but it's a simple job only good when done right. Because if you don't do it right, you guys could end up losing a man and it just messes up your entire team. Now, when on defense, obviously there is that little smoke that you could do. I like to do this smoke. So, however, the downside is, if I remember correctly, is... Oh yeah, no, it's no. We're good. I just did it right. This smoke right here, I think, is the best smoke if you're not running the Viper. However, you should be careful if you're peeking into mid. There is this angle that is exposed. Now, when we're defending mid, the goal is to, again, you want to secure as much map control as possible. So if you can, try to, if let's say they're pushing up mid and like, oh, they're taking heaven, you can just drop this smoke right here. And now, when they push up into male, now they have to clear this angle, and anyone holding from heaven. The same thing honestly can't be said for if in a pinch. If you really need to, you can drop this smoke for anyone playing in vents. If I'm correct here, you can also, yeah, there you go. There's a little woman here. There we go. If they do want to protect yourself, you can drop this one way on vents, so you guys can really just take a hold of that vents control. However, the downside is the enemies can use this against you. However, it's a bit more lenient, I would say, because you can step a bit further out, like right here. So you can technically use it as a setup. It's gonna be a pick and choose situation, which really is what you should be doing, honestly. But anyways, yeah, now we're gonna be moving on to B side here, the B side of the map. Now on attacking, there's actually on defense, there's a quite really strong one way that you can do here. I'll show that later in the video. But a way to counter if they do drop that one way is for you to drop this smoke right here. What this does is obviously it covers up the one way. It now gives you guys the space to fight out of B main. Again, just a really nice strong way to establish that presence and telling, hey, your one way doesn't work. You either have to push out through our smoke, which is obviously a disadvantage for the enemy, or you have to just back off. Now, when you're taking this site, you honestly, as you move up, you're not going to go for those hard site executes as much as often, or as often as you used to in lower elos or mid elos, however you want to call it. And one way you can do to fit around that is actually dropping this smoke right here when you're attacking. What this smoke does is it now breaks up their sight hole, because now the person playing like the backside of pillar can't hold across with the person playing backside. They can't swing off each other's contact because now they're smoked off, and it's a lot harder to do that. And it also just creates a lot more opportunities for the attackers to flood out into different directions. Now, when we're talking about this a site hole, there's two. Now when we're pushing onto B side for the execution, there's several smokes you can do here. The most popular smoke is going to be this smoke right here, where we're gonna make it flush with this wall and this wall right here. and you just drop the smoke like right there. It's a good smoke. It's a basic smoke. It works. Oh, that's interesting. Where again, they can just, it's harder for them to push out of what's the word I'm looking for, rafters, without getting shot at, and it's very flush, it's very nice, no way around it. Another smoke you can do is this smoke right here. The smoke right here, where it covers up the B main push. But however, I'm not a big of a fan of it because it allows the defenders to be able to drop and fight for more space. Not only does it give them more space, it allows them to fight from more spaces, because now they can sit here. When the trips go off, they can just spam through the smoke or silver dart or whatnot, and that allows them to also flood more easily into rafters. So I'm just giving you the option, but I personally do it like once every 100 rounds. I don't really like to run the smoke. Now let's say we're pushing on the B side. Same with the ascent smoke. I actually don't smoke alley until very late into the push relatively. Usually when my teammates are already on site, that's the only time I'm gonna drop the smoke for alley, for the specific reason of, well, we're not going to be challenging it until we're on site. There's no way for them to challenge us from alley into main. Now, if I'm correct, there used to be a one-way here. The arrow is signifying it, so let's see if we can do it. Yeah, no, I guess it doesn't work anymore. But there used to be, I don't know if it's just a me thing, if I'm just missing it, but as far as I know, there was a one-way in alley. If you guys can, please record a video, tag me in it. I want to see how you do it, if you're able to do it. Anyways, that's pretty much it. It's a very basic. Another smoke you could do if you want to push on the B side and apply pressure. What I like to do is, especially when on eco, is I'll drop this smoke right here, because it just cuts off the front side and allows us to path on more easily. And sometimes I'll drop a smoke like right here, so it protects us from heaven. And now we get this space completely for free, and now we can fight in the back side. And it just really, usually it's what I like to do in eco, so we can just like really close the distance. Makes it a lot easier for when we're playing on eco to just take control of that site, doesn't it? Now, on top of that, well, let's talk about the post-plant situation. So when we're talking about post-plant, there's one specific smoke I like to do when I'm attacking, besides the usual smokes where you smoke off heaven and alley, is when you're pushing onto B side, as let's say they're rushing out of alley, a smoke that I like to do is I'll drop this smoke right here. What this does is, again, it just like the smoke up in ramps, this creates a nice little choke that now they have to hard clear while being exposed to several different angles. Again, super beneficial for us. Here's why I like to do it, and to a certain extent, it's safe from heaven to a certain extent, except from here, or if you're holding this angle, it's not safe from there. But again, just a really nice way to cut up the site and help you guys secure that site for a much longer period of time. You could technically also do this smoke, but I don't really like to do it because I don't find it as effective. And the reason why I find this effective, the smoke here, I find this more effective than this smoke over here, is because it forces them into this pathing, which is now open to 180 degrees of getting screwed. While if you smoke of this, yes, technically it is, it's not 180 degrees. Because like if you do clear this part of the site, now you can swing out here, and now you can just fight that afterwards. It's not easy, but why make it slightly easier for the opponent when you could just make it really damn hard, right? Now on defense, now I get to show you guys that smoke up here in B main. If you guys want to take control of this one using B main, using this one way, it's a very quick one way, especially if you're playing on site. Usually drop this when I'm in hell and find it, because it's supposed to be, there we go, it's supposed to be on this little vent thing. You drop that one way, and as you can see, let's look at this from the perspective of the attackers. Until here, from this point all the way until here, you can't see anything, and it's just a free shot, free kills for you and your team. Which is why this the attacking smoke where you drop this right here is very important to know if you guys want to challenge as that one way as an attacker. Now moving on, if we're going to be pushing, they're going to be pushing up. There are three smokes actually for B main that I personally like to do. The first smoke, this is the most popular smoke obviously, is where you'll just drop this smoke right here. Oh wait, no. Actually, it's 4 smokes. Yeah, I like to do 4 different smokes. Where it's super, you know, just flush with the wall, opens them up to several angles when they swing through. Just super basic stuff. No, nothing complicated at all. The next smoke though, however, is this smoke right here. A lot of people thinking, oh, why is it so far back? Well, the reason is I use it against when they're using a flash initiator or any form of util that requires it to be thrown. And the reason why I push it farther back is because now the effective range of that piece of util has now been diminished. Specifically with random blinds, sky flashes, because this may not seem significant, but that little distance really changes how people would play. And again, it just creates this nice little trope because when they swing out, they have to protect this close corner right here, and they're still exposed to most of B site on several different angles here. And another smoke that I do like to do here is actually something I stole from Paper Rex, is where they'll drop a smoke like right there in the corner of this box. What this does is it just makes it really awkward for them to push through, but it does give them that bit extra space. However, as an upside, if they do swing out here, let's say you have an upper really good one, now they can hold this angle and use it to as a pixel angle to just pop people through the smoke, because now that acts like a really strong one-way. As you can see here, let me just re-smoke it. You guys can see it. As you can see here, you can now see that little gap, and let's say you're playing up, you're holding it, oh, you see someone's feet, bang, you're dead. Now the fourth smoke here is a bit more situational, but I do really like it, is where I'll drop the smoke instead of flush with this wall. I'll drop the smoke flush with this wall right here. Why will I drop the smoke and flush with this wall? Well, because when they swing out, now they're more exposed to more of sight, and it doesn't really change. It actually adds more angles they have to worry about, because when they're swinging from here, like this is just on paper by the way, when they swing out here, they don't have to worry about the space behind them. But if you smoke it up further here, they have to worry about this angle, some way more angles. They have to worry about hell, heaven, all this other stuff. It just really opens up their danger zones, as I like to call them. While in exchange, it doesn't give them much space, because if you compare this smoke to this smoke, there's not a lot of space. And even if it is space, it is a space where you can easily spam through the smoke. Right? Now, moving on to the site smokes or the retake smokes. What I actually like to do for the site take smokes or site anchor smokes is I'll drop a smoke like right here. What this does, again, is just like the post-plan smoke, is now it forces them to either push through that very annoying smoke to use util where you could be playing in. Now they have to wrap around here to fully clear it, and now they're exposed to B heaven, they're now exposed to alley, and also to site. And now when they push up here to try and clear out the backside area, now they're exposed to B site, the backside, alley, and now also heaven. Just really forces them to push through. If you really want to take control of most of site, and they're taking it really fast, we don't challenge B main, as I'll just smoke off these points. So now they're completely cut off from the B site itself, and when they push through these angles, they don't have to worry about a myriad of different points where they can take fights from, right? And my favorite thing about this smoke right here is it's also a really decent smoke to use for the retake, where you can use it to push through and just isolate this backside angle. And now when you guys say you pop flash through, now you guys can fight for the B main. But yeah. Oh wait, and another thing I should add, when you're playing on defense, when you're, let's say, in a retake situation, you guys are up numbers or even down numbers, majority of the time you don't want to smoke off, let's say, the main here. You do when you're trying to defuse the bomb. You don't want to smoke that off. What you want to do is actually smoke off the spike here. Let's just drop the spike here. The reason being is because if you smoke off the spike, the enemies, let's say from here, wait, let's just wait for this smoke to run out. There we go. It'll refresh the smoke here. The enemies can't tell if you're sticking it, no matter what they're doing.
And to check, now they have to push all the way up. And the reason why I say smoke the spike off, because let's say if you're in a numbers advantage, now your teammate can now swing out of the smoke. They can swing out in front of the smoke and take the fights for people trying to spam from the mains or out of the site. Let's compare that to the smoke, where if they smoke this off, it's just a spam battle. Your teammates are trying to guess where they are, the enemy's trying to guess if you're sticking or not. And the attackers are at an advantage because they only have to spam one specific spot. Your teammates have to spam this entire smoke. You get me? So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's gonna be the controller guide for Omen. Now we're gonna jump ahead into Astra as the next controller we're gonna be talking about.
Hi guys, my name is Chasm, and welcome to the Astra part of the vid. It's gonna be a bit different since, well, the controllers, they're smokes. They're gonna apply the exact same way as they did initially. However, I will show some little bit of Astra tricks here and there with this one, which would differentiate Omen from Astra when you do run the Astra on split. I will also say this, that all of the one-ways will unfortunately not be able to work on Astra due to the nature of her stars and how they're able to be placed. Moving on from that, also, Astra is, I will say, one of the harder agents to pick up due to the complexity of her kit. Well, not really her kit, but her playstyle is very different because the game you are literally taken out of the game, and instead of playing like an FPS game, you're now playing like I would compare to an RDS game. You play stuff overhead viewpoint of view, and now you're just left like this. Okay. So there are a couple of things that we gotta do here. First of all, that we should note is that Astra's smokes are larger than anybody else's. They have the biggest conventional orb smoke in the game. What does this mean? I did mention before that with Omen, it's a bit finicky if you want to smoke off the A main, or A lobby rather. But with Astra, it's a lot easier. You can just smoke it off normally, like this, flush as possible, and it should... Oh wait, no, I did mess it up. It should be a bit more to the left here. Let's just address that right there. And with that, you are now unable to peek into A ramps unless you do a jump peek again. So with Astra, this smoke you block off the early push into the A main area, A main space, the orb, it becomes a lot easier. Additionally, with that, you gain significantly more space if you do this side smoke here. You gain significantly more space that you can play around with due to the size of the smoke. Now, with Astra, I did mention before that you could use the open smoke to give your teammate a way out to safely get out of the site if you're playing elbow. But now you can do the same with Astra, except you keep your Yuto. The reason being is because Astra, when you pull her stars back, they pop up into a similar motion as the stars of the Astra stars. It's called a fake smoke or a short smoke, depending on who's talking about it. I call it a fake smoke, or I call it both, depending on what the purpose is. But my teammates usually understand what I mean. So let's say someone's playing elbow and they're asking, I need to get out. Astra, can you help me? You can just pull the smoke back, and it allows them to fall back to screens with just the right amount of time. Now with Astra, I also did mention, or with Omen, I did mention that you could smoke off this point, so you could fight for the early area for a heaven and threaten a rotate through ramps, or not ramps, vents rather. However, I did mention, because of the size of Omen's smoke, it is much shorter or much smaller in diameter, so it doesn't cover the full heaven as well. However, with Astra, if you smoke it off as such, now you have completely smoked off, and now you can fight for this early point, and now you can also flash and fight through this area of heaven afterwards, and you can also threaten the push into rotation into vents, and if there's a vents player, they could end up getting isolated, so you might gain some space on vents just off of that smoke if they are calling for each other. Now, when it comes to mid, again, same smoke, so you can smoke off vents or smoke off male, usually male if you're going for a mid control here. But however, one thing I usually do with Astra is I'll use 2 in mid. I'll use 2 in mid all the time. Even if I'm playing rank, we're gonna do an execute to A. I usually use all 4 stars. I'll put 2 in mid to threaten the mid pressure or mid lurk, and I'll also for the execute itself. But I always put into mid. So if my team decides to take aggression into mid, I have stars that are already prepped that I can use for the push out. So let's say we're going to be fighting mid now, smoke off male, and now I can pull into vents, stopping anyone from peeking. Otherwise, they will end up getting vulnerable and also pulled straight into the open. Additionally, if we're going for a fast rush, I could turn this smoke right here into a stun, which makes it incredibly difficult for the person playing vents to actually fight for it. Same can be done here in male. Could be a pull or a stun. This deployment of the stars is actually something I took from, I believe it was Crew, who played against Sentinels in 2021. I believe this is what they were using. It's either 2021 or 2022. It was that's what I believe. I may be wrong. Please correct me if I am. But that's what I like to do. I like to put stars in the middle just to apply the extra bit of pressure. I usually don't put it far up here because if the star is PlayStation here, it isn't as deadly. It still allows somebody to play in male without feeling too pressured. However, if they are playing here, just the presence of the stars makes them hesitant to peek because they can get pulled, stunned, or if they don't plan to peek, you can now smoke them off easily. It's just a multi-purpose smoke with lots and lots of threat. Now, let's just move here into the B side of the map. And oh wait, one thing I should note here is if you are pushing up here, you could also do this with Omen smoke, but if let's say the enemy are pushing up and they took male fast, but you don't want to give up the heaven area and you're playing on defense, a smoke you could throw is this. I may have forgotten to do this in the Omen video because actually I don't know if it's audible, but I did change some of my settings. It's a completely different day. That was like 4 days ago I recorded it. Don't remember much. I'm just trying to keep busy so I can whatever. I'm just rambling at this point. But yeah, you can smoke with this box or this edge of the wall here. And now this blocks off the push from male into the rest of the A heaven site. The jump up here doesn't really work because the smoke does block them off. It doesn't work as well if you're using Omen due to, again, the size, but with Astra works perfectly fine. And it makes it a lot harder, and they have to commit either util or risk pushing through. Now, let's say you're attacking and you want to take space on B side. I remember I didn't mention this on Omen. However, I just said it wasn't as effective. I wasn't fond of it. However, with Astra, it's significantly more viable. You use, again, the size of our smoke. The size of our smoke really changes everything. When you're pushing out with the Astra smoke, to see anything, you have to push out a bit farther, which now exposes you to backside and B main. The Omen smoke, if I recall, was much smaller, and when you push out, you're not going to be exposed to backside, you're only exposed to B main, so you can take a more isolated fight. However, this does force you out. It is impossible to peek if you do not have... It's impossible to peek only into B main, because now you're exposed to this part of the map and this part of the map by the time you swing out. Additionally, if the enemies do go for a jump out, this now puts them, except for the B main push for pillar, and they walk into pillar, they are now in a one-way scenario where they are at a significant disadvantage. Even if they try to fight for the site here, they are still in the one-way again due to the large size of Astra smokes. Now, same thing can be said again for those anchor smokes I was talking about. If you are playing on defense on B side, just pop these smokes. This should be farther back so you don't know the scene. But yeah, this again leaves them such little space to actually play around, and allows you to dominate much more space of the map. This should be farther out though. I should note that was my bad. It should be something like this. There we go. And this smoke allows you to just really anchor down into the site. And if you wish, if you're one of those risky dudes, you can use this the way this is laid out to get a free pick, because this is actually a weird like head glitch angle that you could use. Now on attacking, what I usually like to do if we're going for a full B execute, what I actually usually do is actually won't smoke off alley. Again, I mentioned this in the Omen video. This one I know is where that actually won't become much of a threat until much later on into the bush. So I'll put the stars again into mid right here. I'll put one for heaven. I'll just use the basic smoke here just for an example. And I'll throw one backside here. Oh, not here. Usually right here in this corner. The reason why I put it in the corner that's pushed up into this box is so when I'm going for the execute, I smoke that off, I pull here. They're now forced, if they don't want to get pulled, they have to force themselves further back, which now exposes them to more angles and makes it easier for us to clear him, because now he has very little room to move or move into the open into like 4, 5, 3 people, which with high likelihood they will now win the fight there. Yeah, that's very much I want with Astra, but also addition with Astra, you now can do this. If let's say we're doing a push, it's a bit slower, and we know they have an up. One thing we could do is use this Astra Star right here. What does this Astra Star do? What it does is it applies pressure on the upper, holding this B main angle. So what we could do here is, as we put that there, we could do several things. We could do stun. And that allows it to push up without the threat of there being an up, because remember, stuns don't allow you to scope in. So sorry if this part's a bit disheveled. I have not slept at all. I have been restless these past few days. Okay. Yeah, I apologize truly. What else? Oh yeah, also on A side here, again, I apologize for being scatterbrained again. Haven't gotten much rest. The Omen lurking smokes that I mentioned are now significantly more viable with Astra on the team. Because now, when you pop those smokes, you can just get them back later. Here I use the longer smokes, but you can, with proper timing, use the fake smoke. So let's say, okay, I want to cross, smoke. And just like that, I've made it across. But again, it requires proper timing. It's a bit harder to execute, but just letting you know, it is an option that is available. Now, again, with Astra here, because you're thinking, oh, this is a smokes guide. No, this is a controller guide. I'm here to help you guys how to play controller. Now with Astra here, let's say one of the key parts of her kit is her ult, and I've seen so many bad ults actually come up here. Now, let's say we're doing an A execute onto A side. How can we use this smoke? How can we use a wall to help take A side? Well, there are several ways we could do this. The very common way that you'll see is where they'll just use this basic wall like that. What this does, it cuts off heaven, cuts off ramps, and it allows you to gain that extra heavy space into screens right here. It allows you to fight for the space, and since it's so far pushed up, it now creates a little choke point here that you guys can fight for in that space, and it isolates site completely. There are other walls that pro teams have been using. I think there's one very famous one where if I'm correct, you use from a heaven push, where you could actually wall this off like this. I've seen walls like this, so you can get a plant down really quick and easy for a heaven spam right there. There's a lot you could do with Astra. Let's just move on ahead here. Well, with Astra's wall, it's really just, it can be finicky because of the fact that you can lose your matches because of it. You have to know how to properly use Astra's wall. Like for example, here on B side, I've seen a lot of people do terrible walls. What I like to do with Astra's wall here is actually I'll do a wall like this, where I'll find this corner and I'll attach it to this corner of the wall right here. This is usually the wall that I go for. So let's say I'm going for the diffuse here, I'm playing on the retake. Now they have to swing through this deadly crossfire that we can form, that you can't really push out of. And Now this creates a choke for people who are holding from the left side of the pillar that they have to fight through. But again, another one you could use here. Let's say one that I've actually been using for quite some time here is actually using this wall right here. Where I'll use this wall. I've been using this wall sometimes, and I think it's actually quite valuable. What this does is isolates the back part of the site, and once we clear this part of the site, now we can move on into we can clear the B main push while isolating the people on B site itself. Additionally, what this does, if we do choose to go for the diffuse, the wall still covers the diffuse from the heaven push and also the B main push. There's something like that. You just want to consider the differences when it comes to, or the differences and the possibilities that Astra Wall can be used. You have to think of it in a three-dimensional type of way. However, when you do get that down, it's very, very strong. Now, before I end this video, I want to show the trick to you guys that a lot of people don't know about. Is when you're using Astra, a lot of people, when they say they want to use the Astra Wall, let's say they want to use the Astra Wall to take a site. Let's hop on over there. You may have seen me using this when demonstrating some of the Astra Walls. Is what they'll do is like, okay, I want to smoke off ramp, so I'll take this, and then I'll press the collect button over here, and then that's it. And obviously you can do that, but that's super slow. So how can we fix that? Well, here's the thing. It will follow a straight line regardless of how far apart you put the two anchor points are. So if you want to be able to pop a really quick Astra Wall, let's say you're fighting for a site or you're anchoring it and the timer's running down and you just want to buy yourself some time, you can pop into Astra form and you can just do this. Just really quickly. I'm gonna do this really quick. Just like that. And just like that, you've created a really quick Astra Wall. Let's do another one. It will follow any line that you create. So just to slow it down, it can be any distance. So let's say I want to cut off, let's say main, and I also want to cut off ramps. So I can just do this, right click, left click, and then just move it a tiny bit to the right. And now I hit left click again. And now, as you can see with the distance, it was very small and it allows me to create that. Just really quickly, it allows you to create that Astra Wall that can help your team. Again, it's difficult and needs really good micro adjustment. However, again, when you can get that down, the speed at which you deploy the Astra Walls can really help you guys out. Additionally, I do want to talk about this because it was a very interesting idea done by PaperX when they were using Astra, I believe, on B site here. Well, what was happening here is they actually used it on Ascent. I'm trying to steal that idea to try and use it for other maps because it's actually quite an interesting idea. Where the way PaperX uses double wall controller comms on non-wall controller maps such as Ascent, where they would actually section off parts of the map using the wall and then use that as a staging ground or secure that part of the map and then push through it. Same thing was done with PaperX's wall on Ascent. So here I kind of copied the idea, and what they would do is that they would use this wall right here. Now typically this would be a bad wall because this gives your team very little space. What this does is allow us to fight the first part of this map completely undisturbed, allows us to get the plant down if you wish. And now, when your team is ready, you can flash and stun and dog and whatnot, and now you can fight with those latter parts. So basically, again, you're sectioning the bomb site. You're taking it piece by piece. You take the left side first, and then you take the right side next. And when this wall goes up as a defender, personally, this would make me nervous. Because if I take a fight here, it's going to be much harder for my team to come in and try and assist me because I'm cut off by that wall. They have to push through the wall, and what if they're playing heaven? Or they're playing on the other side, on playing somewhere towards mid or CT. Now they have to make a significantly longer pathing just to be able to help me instead of just holding from this angle. Right? Anyways, that's very much of the end of the video. I apologize again if I seem very lightheaded or scatterbrained. I haven't got rest. this video, I've been trying so many times to just record this video, doing retakes after retake after retakes. I apologize for it. Apologize for delay of the video. I'll try to keep the quality up and also the frequency up, but I really want to just focus on the frequency right now. And I really appreciate you guys for watching my video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below if you guys have any suggestions of particular maps you want me to cover, or any topic you want me to cover. I'm open to suggestions. You guys have a wonderful day.